Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. 100 pace car. It's a 125 scale kit in the Revell catalog, number 85-2857. Now this is a re-release of a kit originally that came out in 2004, and it's actually been released in multiple versions since then and during. It's an out of production kit, but it can still be found on the secondary markets and on online auctions, and they're still really nice lookers. This purple pace car was driven by Parnelli Jones, the 1963 race winner, and only 1,158 production replicas were produced for the public. Now the build consists of over 125 parts molded in white, chrome, clear red, and vinyl tires. And the decals are nice quality water slide type, and you get some dash details and stripes for the body, plus the Indy specific details as well. Now the interior tub is a tub style, and the detailing is a little difficult with multiple colors. The one part body is completed prior to installing, and overall when you're done it'll be about 7 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 2 inches high. Now we'll be using mostly liquid cement, sometimes even epoxy or super glue for strength, and clear or white glue for some of the windows. And please remember to heed all of the safety warnings that you see from the manufacturers of any of the products that you see or hear mentioned in the review. Here are the decals for this kit. As you can see, they're very colorful and the register is good. The Indy graphics are pretty nice, and I strongly suggest that you use some of the decal setting solution to get these larger decals to conform to the body and stick well to the paint. Construction starts with the motor and the transaxles, etc., and most of these can be put together before you paint them for maximum strength. First we'll assemble the drivetrain halves, and again, there'll be a seam there, so address that by scraping the seam and maybe even sanding it smooth. And then we're going to add the heads and the head covers and the exhaust manifolds and install the front cover and the engine. Then install the oil pans top and bottom, and add the transmission pan. On the induction manifold, add the covers and the filler cap, and then paint the motor aluminum. Now the motor cover is black, and so scrape the Corvette letters to make them look white. Add decal number 14 to the filler cap and paint the belts flat black with aluminum details. The hoses are rubber color and the starter is black. The oil filter is blue color. Add the motor cover on top, install the belts to the front, and add the hoses into place at this time too. Paint the chassis flat black. The A-arms are aluminum, and the front suspension, shocks, and steering unit are aluminum with a black torsion bar. Now the rear shocks are a semi-gloss black, and install the motor into place on the mounts provided. Add the steering unit, the shocks, and the torsion bar to the suspension, and then install that into the chassis. Now add the rear shocks into place too. The majority of the interior is assembled prior to the paint, so start with the interior side panels. And note, you'll need to install the roll bars as close to the panels as possible. Add the grab handles to the door panels and install those, and then add the brake lever and the shifter, the foot pedals, and the rear panel. Now put the firewall into place and paint this unit satin black with a flat black flooring. Assemble the brake booster and paint it black with some steel, and then a white reservoir, and install that. Then the battery chamber is flat black, but the fluid tank is white with a black cap, and the other tank is white with a black cap, and both are then installed. Now add the red lenses to the door panels and assemble the seats. Paint the seats yellow and black and install those. Decal number 16 goes on the brake reservoir too. Grab these pieces for the next step, and remember to scrape any paint or chrome plating off of gluing surfaces for good adhesion. Now assemble the radiator shroud, the snorkel, the radiator, and fans, and then paint that and the wheel wells and the wheel inserts flat black. Now the tie rod ends, they're aluminum, and install the interior tub into the chassis. Then add the rear wheel wells and add the front wheel well inserts and install the radiator into place. Now add the tie rods in place on the rear suspension. And note that you'll cut out decals 7 and 8 and not put them in water, but just glue the backs to the floor as floor mats. Find these parts and we'll assemble the dash and paint the dashboard assemblies satin black. Now the steering column can be added as well as the decal number 9, which is the instrument panel. And there's a clear panel to cover that up. Just cut it out and put it into place, and then put the white or the clear panel over it. Using the slots on the side panels, we'll install the dashboard into place now too. Cut these parts off of the tree and trim off any parting lines or sprue joints that you need to remove. And then now the chassis underside gets completed next, so we'll paint the exhaust aluminum, assemble the suspension, the spring, and the anti-lock brake unit, and paint that aluminum too. The axles, torsion bar, and the tie plate then are flat black, and the brakes are aluminum with steel calipers. Now note you'll install the tie plate first and then the exhaust. So add the axles, suspension, and the torsion bar, then add the brakes with the small calipers on the back facing the inside and larger caliper on the front side facing towards the inside. Assemble the front spoiler and install that onto the chassis. Now we'll assemble the tire and wheels, and note that the tires are directional and they have different sizes. The left front is number 180 and the left rear is part 170. The right front is part 150 and the right rear is part 160. Give the tires more of a used look by pressing and rolling the tread on a sheet of 220 flat sandpaper, and then assemble the rims with the rim backs. First paint the rims yellow and then install the rims into the proper location as per size. Now we can snap the tires into position in the right places, and you can see the front end here with the tires in position. Now just put your finger on the back of the arm and press them into place with some force to put them in position. And the rear is similarly done the same fashion, so get those installed now. And now we'll spruce up the engine bay with some of that graphics work, so we'll use decals 10 through 15 except for number 14, and you can see where they're all placed here, and it makes that engine bay look pretty authentic. So at this point we'll have a rolling chassis on which to build the rest of the vehicle, and as you can see she's looking pretty steady and has a nice rake to it, so we'll move on. Next we'll grab these parts to assemble the body, and they can be put together before any paint work. So we'll add the hinges to the hood there, and then we'll add the hinge pivot to the body, and then install the mirrors and add the waterfall that is between the seats. And for the Indy pace car version, we'll add the light bar now too. Remove any of the parting lines and lightly sand those off, as well as any blemishes you might find, although it's a pretty clear, clean body. And then we'll tape the hood into place, and we're going to give the body a nice overall light sanding with 1000 grit paper, and then wash and dry it, air dried, and then primer the whole body in and out with a good quality primer. Then wet sand it again smooth with a nice 1000 grit wet sandpaper and let it air dry once again. So I actually had to go to a paint shop and get this paint mixed, a small amount of it. It's called Radar Blue, and it was the pace car color that year. So this is PPG automotive paint sprayed through an airbrush, but I think that some of the aftermarket suppliers now have these colors, so you can order those online. And next we'll add the decals, and here's those colorful yellow contrasting decals. And once again, you'll use some setting solutions here because they wrap around many of the contours and panel lines, but they will look great. Just make sure you use plenty of warm water to move them into position, and give them a generous coats of the setting solutions to make sure that they conform well. Let the decals dry overnight and then give it a nice couple of even coats of automotive clear. After the decals had dried, including the one on the top of the windshield visor, as you can see, this is kind of like straight out of the box, and it gets a little bit grubby. It's got micro scratches to it. So I just dip this into some Pledge floor polish and wick it off, and it gives a thinner, cleaner, and crisper look to your window, as you can see here. Now we can mate the chassis to the body, turn it upside down and put it on something soft, and then just kind of lift the sides out apart a little bit and shoehorn the chassis into the body, and it'll snap right in and fit without any glue needed. And next we'll complete the rear end section with these pieces, and the flashers in the light bar are silver and then transparent yellow over that, and add the covers with some white glue or some of the crystal clear. And the tail lights, the side markers, and the backup light areas on the body are painted silver, and then the lenses are installed over that, once again with some clear glue. Now cut and glue the Special Indy license tag in place and put that into position. You won't need to use that as a decal, just cut it out and glue it in once again with some clear glue. So locate these, and we'll complete the front end by painting the marker light area on the body a silver color, and then add the lenses that have been painted with clear orange, and install those into place with some of the white or clear glue. Then install the mirror faces too. You'll have just a few pieces left, and as you could imagine, this car could have easily just been built into a 98 Corvette convertible with an up top, and that's what these parts are for. But we made the pace car, and that's all you'll have left for this car. Well, there you have it. This stunning looking car is actually a pretty simple build. It's a weekend build if you ask me, and it goes together quite well. The motor is nicely detailed, but you can't see much of it when she's closed up because of all the covers that you put on them these days. Now the chassis is pretty basic and simple, but it details well, and they all fit together. The body fit well. The interior has a nice look, although it's all black. You could add some detailing to it for one of the non-pace car versions, but we tried to make this one look mostly like the actual pace car. So the fits were all very good. There was very little parting flash, and I think that this makes a really nice build, and if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. We hope you like this premium step-by-step model kit review, and so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. But you can find us on Facebook and at our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks!